And action. Welcome to another jam-packed episode of the Action Podcast. We're a little delayed. We apologize, but we've got a lot on tap today. Number one movie, of course, being Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Second, we have Karate Kid Legends.
Right.
Third, we have the live-action remake of Lilo and Stitch, which is doing very well at the box office. Four, we have Fountain of Youth, which is on Apple TV Plus right now. Fifth, we'll do our review of Thunderbolts. Obviously, it's been out for a minute, but we'll briefly talk about that movie. Also, Nonnas, which is on
Netflix.
Netflix. After that, we have Another Simple Favor, the sequel to what, Pete?
A Simple Favor.
A Simple Favor, yeah. After that, we have Hurry Up Tomorrow, followed by Friendship, then Fight or Flight, and then lastly, Bring Her Back. So,
Right.
like we mentioned,
There's
action.
a lot. There's a lot on tap, so we're gonna have to go through this stuff pretty quick. But
Yeah,
you'll know by the end of it what you should go see and what you should not.
that's our main objective. We're not going to go deep into a lot of these, but yeah, we just want to kind of let you know whether we think it's worth it or not to go. So, all right, Pete, let's get into the number one movie, Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning. Let me give some stats here right now. Currently, it is at a 7.5 ranking on IMDb. It's got a 67 Metascore, which is pretty decent. Um, Now this one has a budget of 400,000. That's what's estimated, and so far it has grossed 360. Now this will
Four
obviously
hundred thousand.
400 million.
Oh, okay. You said 400,000. I'm
Yeah,
like,
it
Jesus.
is considered one of the largest productions of all time.
Right.
And yeah, 360 million. It's gross worldwide. Don't worry, guys. It will make its money no matter what because it'll do very well in streaming. So,
Of course.
but it's not going to be a huge um, profit in terms overalls. But yeah. Um, all right,
Which
Pete.
I don't think was their main objective with this movie. I don't think they're.
No,
I
I
mean,
think this was
there's nine of the movies or however many there are. It's just like these movies. These movies just continue just to make and generate money
yeah.
constantly.
Yeah, I think, and we'll just get right into it then. I think the main, like you're saying, the main objective was to really have a great way to close this out and to go out with a bang. And like you're saying, money was no object. This has the classic, live action stunts that has really propelled this franchise ahead of many others that have chosen the CGI route and all that good stuff. And don't get me wrong, this still has CGI and all that, but
It's certainly, Tom Cruise doing his own stunts. This thing is always, it's such a great marketing tool. Like
yeah,
people talk about it ad nauseum, and it's all you see and all you hear about with the movies leading up to the release of the films themselves. And it's always something to look forward to seeing, like
yeah.
whatever he's doing.
Well, like
It's
even this morning, I saw, they show the behind the scenes footage of the plane sequence, which is in this movie, that's what it was. Him, actually in the air doing that scene. Because I heard someone who was like, "Oh, that was just too much," and it's like he was actually doing it though. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's one thing if it's all CGI, but he's literally doing that scene in the air. Now I don't know how high they are, but I saw that again, the behind the scenes, and yeah, he's got wires, of course, but still, I mean, that still takes a lot of balls to do that. So, but I mean, what were your overall thoughts? Okay, let's,
well, I actually, I agree with the 7.5 rating. I just loved how this is a two-prong answer. So my first response is as a Mission Impossible fan, like I've just loved every one of these movies. I've never had a negative thing to say about any of them. I mean, you can dissect them, however, they're just so great moving
yeah,
all across the line in a linear fashion. I loved the attempt to encapsulate everything that sort of happened in all of the previous films and making it sort of make sense. I
yeah,
mean, if you think about that sort of job as an undertaking as a writer, right? Like, okay, I've got to take all of these films and I have to make it all make sense for this last movie.
yeah,
That's pretty remarkable. Now, I will say it was very like Lord of the Rings, the last one, or number three, where when you get to a spot and you're like, ah, that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
That's a great ending of the movie. And then there's another like 20 to 25 minute scene after that, and you're like, okay. And then you're like, oh, wow, okay, I see how that makes sense, but that's a great end to the movie. And then it goes again for another 20 to 25 minutes, and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can take this. I don't know if I
Yeah.
can take like this roller coaster of a ride. Um, and then when it finally did end, I was satisfied for sure, and I loved it.
Yeah.
I got to be honest though, and I'm just thinking out loud here. I feel like what Tom, because this is Tom Cruise's baby,
Yeah.
right? Mission Impossible series. His other baby is Top Gun. And what he did for the Top Gun reboot was he introduced people into that movie that can carry it on forever,
Yeah.
right? I would have loved to have a character in this film, which we didn't get, a young up and coming dude who would almost like a Glenn Powell. I think Glenn Powell he could be the next Mission Impossible guy because he can do anything. This guy is amazing.
Yeah.
So I would have loved to. I know that Tom Cruise is not doing these films anymore. However, if he would have sort of passed the baton and still been a producer on his baby, right?
Yeah.
Uh, with somebody else moving forward, I vote I vote Glenn Powell for sure. But I think they missed an opportunity, just a little opportunity to continue this franchise post Tom Cruise and still be successful and interesting.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. But I would have preferred it being a kind of a smaller role, but just like you're saying, something like
Sure.
just because then they can also team up with Hayley Atwell, who I did like introducing her in the last one.
Look,
You know,
Glenn Powell's role in Top Gun was not huge, but it was significant at the end, right? Like
yes,
that's
yeah,
why he's the clear-cut favorite to sort of take the franchise to the next level on the Top Gun side.
sure,
So
yeah,
yes, I agree. You could have put him in a role very small, but introduce him and then something. And I will say one more thing, because you and I were talking about, boy, it
yeah,
would have been great if Tom Cruise would have just died at the end of the movie. Like
yeah.
it would have been fitting. However,
Spoiler, just FYI.
Spoiler
spoiler, sorry.
alert!
I feel like, to be honest, I thought Simon Pegg should have died at the end of the movie. I thought that would have been more impactful um, versus the Tom Cruise dying because
Yeah,
Simon Pegg is just this guy that's always there and always does everything he can, and he's so significant to the latter half of the series. Um, I thought his passing actually would have been more impactful for me, anyways.
yeah. I think if they're going to continue this, I think Simon Pegg is still an important character
I know.
for continuity, and you already I
I
wouldn't
get
say
that.
killed off, but Ving Rhames, again, not still on the spoiler alert here, but Ving Rhames did not make it through this film. It was, combination of an illness, but then also a choice. But still, um, he's the only real connection to these ones now. So, I mean, obviously, if Tom Cruise is somehow involved, he's probably going to be an executive, you
Sure.
know.
He'll just produce
But
at that point.
but but yeah, I don't. There's a lot of different ways they could approach this, but I let me say my point because I definitely want to. We're under a time limit here, but
Go ahead.
um, I view this movie in a couple two different ways. One, obviously, it's that first moment where you watch this, and then you're just kind of like it's a more of a visceral reaction, right? Um, I was into the whole movie as it went, everything. I agree with you in the sense that I felt it was maybe a smidgen too long. I felt like 2.5 hours might have been the sweet spot of this film, maybe 2:45 instead of a pure three. For me, just again, I'm going off my visceral initial feelings. I felt that in the theater. It just felt a little too much. But with that being said, and again, the more I like, if I watch this again, I may not have that reaction. I do want to watch this again. I'm going to watch. I watched Dead Reckoning many times, and so that was a initial reaction. But like I said, I like this. I like Dead Reckoning more than this one, but Dead Reckoning I also thought was maybe the best one out of them all. So again, a
Red
little
Reckoning was so good.
Dead Reckoning was perfect.
It
Uh,
was really a great
I thought
film.
this movie was excellent, but not perfect, but excellent. And so overall, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great ride. I'll watch this over and over and over again. But yeah, just a tick below that one. But yeah, that's kind of my overall take. So ultimately, yes, go see it. I saw this with Nicole. She did not really enjoy it. She typically does like these films, but I think for her the length was a little too much. And I don't know, maybe she just wasn't into it. I don't know, but
But each sequence of events that happened, especially like the submarine sequence, you know, you have to suspend disbelief one time in a film,
yeah,
and you're allowed that one time. I mean, nobody breathing underwater for 19 minutes is a ridiculous way to just survive all of a
yeah,
sudden. However, the sequence itself and every sequence that you watch in this film is done so masterfully. And when you're in these scenes, it's riveting and you're on the edge of your seat. Like when the submarine is just continuously submerging, it's really well done. But just be prepared for an ending after an ending after an ending of this film. It's phenomenal. I loved this film.
yeah. Awesome. Well, let's move on to Karate Kid Legends. This has a 6.6 IMDb rating.
Yeah.
This movie's directed by Jonathan Entwistle. And I've not heard that name. What has he done? He has done more TV series, it looks like. Yeah, there's
He's
nothing.
a producer. He's only directed about a couple of things, but yeah, most of it's TV. Nothing that really stands out in terms of notoriety.
Yeah. Uh,
Um,
this stars Jackie Chan. Ben Wang is really the star of this film. He's the new Karate Kid in this one. Joshua Jackson also plays a large role, and of course, Ralph Macchio. He's not a star in this movie, but he does play a role in it. Pete, I'll let you do this one. You saw this one before me.
I saw this one, so I'm kind of torn with this one because obviously with the Karate Kid, we grew up on the Karate Kid. It's one of our favorite franchises of all time. When they announced on YouTube TV that they're doing a Cobra Kai series, and then that eventually went to Netflix, we followed that journey and have loved, and it's been always been done very well. Um, Obviously, not that Hilary Swank fourth Karate Kid movie. However, this movie and even the remake with Will Smith's kid,
Yeah.
it wasn't horrible, but it just introduced it wasn't karate, but it introduced a new sort of vision for what this franchise could become. And then this movie came out, and I thought that the way that they did the movie, the first half of the movie, you are in this movie. Ben Wang is really good.
Yeah.
He's a great actor, um, but he's also very physically gifted. Like this kid can do things that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
Um, don't okay. I'll go Joshua Jackson first. Joshua Jackson's character was a riveting character, and I've loved Joshua Jackson since the Dawson's Creek days.
Yeah.
His character was really great, and they also gave him his moment, like in a boxing match at one point, and I won't spoil what happens in that scene, but it's a really great sequence, and Ben Wang, his character sort of helps him through this time while he's going through a bunch of stuff himself. And he's just moved to New York with his mom. He doesn't know anybody. He meets a girl. The girl is the daughter of Joshua Jackson, so there's a love interest there.
Yeah.
And then,
They really do a good job of, I mean, in a way, it very much mirrors the first Karate Kid. You know,
yes,
new kid has to move because of his mom, meets a girl that then, kind of leads a lot of his actions. And then, the villain is basically an ex of her, and I'm saying this almost as a positive. This one had a very good, I thought this one had a lot of the feelings of the first one, but then, obviously ramped up a lot of the physical action. um
but my only critique of this movie is A, they didn't really give the villain any room to breathe and to develop. They just kind of threw him in, and you're supposed to just accept the fact that he's an asshole, and then eventually they fight. I wasn't really super pumped about what the tournament was. I thought the location of it and the setting around it and how it came to be was ridiculous. I still enjoyed it. But then, just like the previews show you, then Ralph Macchio shows up. And I loved seeing Ralph Macchio in this movie because I'm a geek when it comes to Karate Kid movies. I didn't really feel it was necessary to have Ralph Macchio in this movie. Um,
I think it was just the connection because, and
I know, I
this is
get
not
that.
this is not a spoiler alert, but they basically connected the two.
They blend the two styles
Yeah.
into a new style. However, it's all done in the last 20 to 25 minutes of the movie. So it feels a little slapdash and it
Yeah.
feels very rushed. And the point is that I'm trying to make is that they spent so much time making a really great movie and set everything up beautifully and it was performed beautifully. And then it felt like at the end they were just like, let's get Ralph Macchio in there. Let's just throw this shit together. Let's do the tournament and then let's end the movie. I would have been okay with this movie being about 20 minutes longer and
Yeah,
then
this movie was short, by the way.
had it little, breathe a little bit at the end just because I thought it would have done some really good justice to what they're going to do moving forward because it's clear that they're going to continue the
Yeah.
Karate Kid IP further.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
this was a great first attempt. I hope that they take my notes and apply them to the next round.
well,
Uh,
here's I'll add on what you're saying and say it probably better than you did. Um, it,
Impossible.
it if you do it properly, like here's where you have a conflict of marketing versus the actual film itself, right? And like the trailer's going on in the background because I'm on the page, and the trailer is so Ralph Macchio heavy,
Yep.
but he's not in the film until like like you're saying, like the second half of the film.
Very end.
But if the narrative of if Ralph Macchio is supposed to be so important of it, it's not a big reveal because he's already in the trailer. So 90% of your audience kind of already knows that he's in this movie. So you don't need it to be sort of a surprise that he comes in, right? And so you could, like you're saying, you could have, and they could have fixed this in, after they kind of did their initial marketing stuff, but then create a scene of where there is a better connection as opposed to Han just, you know, hey, I need to go see my friend, and like I feel like they could have blended that early, either moved it earlier or something to where Ralph Macchio, like you're saying, is introduced before, so it's just blended better, and I think they could have done that
They
easily.
just needed room to breathe
Yeah.
at that last 20 to 25 minute sequence.
I
And I
did love
thought
the pacing of this
it
movie.
would have been a good wrap up to the movie. The pace in the first 75% of the movie is fantastic.
Dude, it moves. Yeah.
And it's nostalgic, right? So I
Yeah,
would go see it again. And I think everyone should see it.
yeah, I definitely want to see it again.
Karate Kid. You gotta love it.
Yeah. A couple notes real quick. $45 million, I'm sorry, $50 million budget, and it's at 45 million, I believe.
Nice. Well done.
I remembered it and then I forgot. It is $45 million budget. It's grossed 50 worldwide. So it's still, this is still the first week. So hopefully another good weekend of it. It'll put it in the black.
Justify the continuation of this awesome franchise.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right. Next, we have Lilo and Stitch, and this, of course, is the Disney remake. The original came out, I believe, in like 2002, and this has a 7 rating on IMDb. And this came
Fantastic.
out the same weekend as Mission Impossible. And what would they call it? Lilo Impossible or something? What was
Yeah,
it? Something like that.
or Mission Stitch. I don't know. Called it something.
Yeah, it had one of those
It's
the
like Barbenheimer. They did something with
Barbenheimer.
it.
Yeah. So, but this had a $100 million budget, but this is grossed 627 worldwide. Definitely
Incredible.
expect a sequel on this. I'm gonna go first on this one, Pete.
Go ahead.
So we actually all watched this together. This was one of the rare, family movies that we all got to go see. Pete and I both needed to see it, and I was like, hey, let's just go as a family.
Yeah, and my wife and my two kids came along with us, and we all had a great experience together.
Yeah.
It was a great afternoon.
But Pete and I have zero attachment to the original. I never saw it. I knew of the characters, but I don't recall ever actually sitting down and watching the original film. And so there is no attachment to the first one. So we were just able to watch this movie for the first time as is. And my nephew's sitting next to me and just kind of enjoying the movie, but I had a good time myself. I enjoyed the the story behind it. I love Hawaiian culture. I lived there for a little bit, so I always love movies that continue to delve into that. They talk about Ohana, all that good stuff, and so for me, I thought the movie was very good, especially again for a family film. I thought the comedy was pretty good. Um, I didn't actually realize it was Zach Galifianakis in this one, but I thought the two actresses, the one that plays Lilo and Nani, were both very good. And I almost wanted a little more Zach Galifianakis. I mean, not necessarily the R-rated Zach Galifianakis, but I still feel like his humor could have been pushed the envelope a little bit more. I did love Billy Magnuson, though. I've been a big fan of him since Game Night, and so I thought he was good in this. But overall, I enjoyed the experience, and I thought it was very good. I've heard some reviews from people that have attachment to the original. They had issues with the aliens because I think they took human form and they didn't in the original. And so some people took exception to that, but I think again that's just the nostalgia and attachment to versus like this was a more practical, and I'm using big quotes on that one, practical way to tell this story in live action.
But that's been my argument against these Disney live action remakes. Up until now, they've all been, basically carbon copies of the original story with
Yeah.
a scene or two or a song added, but nothing of value has ever been added to these movies. And I just haven't enjoyed any of them. And so I went
Yeah.
into this movie thinking the same thing. And I think the plus of us going to this movie without ever seeing the original was a good thing because
Yes.
this movie is so well written and so well performed. This girl, the Lilo, is just so heartbreaking and amazing.
Yeah.
Um, the story is emotional, and you find yourself with tears in your eyes for no reason at all during
Yeah.
they've got specific scenes throughout this movie that are just so well done that you can't help but get absolutely emotional when you're watching them. And then I enjoyed the comedy that they added with the two aliens. I
Yeah.
thought it was something new and it was something different. And thank God they just did something different with this movie finally after like 8 attempts at a
Yeah.
live action remake of a movie.
Yeah.
This movie knocked it out of the park. This was one of my favorite movies of the year by far.
And
Definitely
it
top 10 for me. It's so
and when
good.
it comes to the live action remakes, I mean, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but this might be the best one out of
Easily.
all.
It's easily the best one.
I'm trying to actually think about it, but I liked Aladdin, but I don't. I like this probably more than Aladdin. Um,
Aladdin was fine.
I did enjoy the Snow White one. I know I'm in the minority on that one,
Dude,
but
Snow White was
I think this movie's better than Snow White though. I think that's
but that's like saying this movie is better than a big pile of poop. That's no comparison. The Snow White remake was nothing compared to this movie. This movie is
no,
one
no, no.
of the best
This movie
movies.
stands by itself. Yeah. But like you're talking about like the purpose of remakes. I thought the Snow White remake had had a purpose because the original one was so outdated and this like the storyline was just not that good. Like I rewatched the original 1937 one and it's just like, all right. I mean, it was a great accomplishment at the time, but obviously it's very outdated. And so I thought that one actually had a purpose versus the Little Mermaid was exactly the same. I'm trying to think of the other ones off the top of my head. Cinderella or um yeah. So yeah. Ultimately I like this movie.
Go see this movie.
Yeah, go
It's
see this movie.
phenomenal.
Next, we have Fountain of Youth. This is on Apple TV Plus now. This is directed by Guy Ritchie, stars John Krasinski, Natalie Portman, Eiza Gonzalez, Domhnall Gleeson. Um, this only has a 5.7 on IMDb, a little
Shocking.
low. But fun fact, I actually saw this, I want to say about 8 months ago. I saw one of these free preview screenings and I was super excited to see it because, this is a big movie that you get to see kind of early. And so I was always very curious to see what kind of changes they made with what I saw versus the original. But I'll let you go first on this one, Pete, and then I'll.
I mean, I don't agree with that rating at all. I mean, this was a good, fun time, and this is my thing with Apple Plus TV movies is that it just feels like they're doing something different over there at that studio where they actually want to not do quantity, they want to do quality. And even the smaller roles in this movie outside of Portman and John Krasinski. I'm going to butcher his name, but the inspector, Arian Moayed, he was super fun and funny. Stanley Tucci's in it for like a scene,
Yeah,
and he's great every time. This is such a great adventure movie. Krasinski's character gets established very early on, and it's maintained throughout. Like they don't ever go away from his sarcasm and his aloof sort of behavior when it comes to anything in his life, which makes his character so great in this movie.
yeah,
It's really well done. I had a great time. This was an adventure movie. It
yeah,
was a journey. It was fun. I mean, I don't understand this rating, to be honest. It was
yeah,
it was a great, well done movie.
yeah. I mean,
Pick it
there's been
apart, but I mean,
there's
it's
been a lot of attempts to the Indiana Jones quote unquote model, but I think where Indiana Jones was really obviously reliant just on Harrison Ford. I think what this does a good job is the dynamic between Natalie Portman and John Krasinski. Um, and then, all adding, like you're saying, all these other characters, just added a little more to it.
a great supporting cast, and that's what you need. It's what we say about comedies. Like if you've
Yeah.
got a great supporting cast in a comedy, you've got a great comedy. This
But
was the same.
but even still, like like the Fountain of Youth, we all kind of know about it. I mean, I'm assuming I know about it, but I'm assuming most people have heard of the Fountain of Youth at some point in their life. And so this was a great premise, and I thought they, like you're saying, they executed well, very entertaining. Guy Ritchie, I think was a great choice as the director. He's really really balanced in terms of doing these quote unquote popcorn adventure type movies, or because he comes from that, what's that, knock stock and smoking barrels, that's
Lock,
him, right?
stock, yeah.
Yeah. But he's a very 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 talented director, and his last film was The Covenant, I believe, in my head. And that was fantastic, and that was just pure drama, but this again continues to show that he's one of the top filmmakers. And I really enjoy it. This is a movie I can watch over
But
and
I,
over
f-
again.
I feel like Guy Ritchie didn't try to, and this is a testament to him as a director. He didn't try to overdo it with his directorial style. he let the movie play out the way it was supposed to be play out, and he did what he should have been doing in those moments just to tell the story and allow these characters to kind of move forward in a very natural, fun, exciting way.
Yeah.
So hats off to Guy Ritchie for not trying to make it into something weird, and just making a great action movie that's fun. That this is a franchise waiting to happen.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully there's more adventures to come. I liked it. I'm all in on it. Like I said, I can watch this movie multiple time and yeah, go
Even the
definitely
kid
watch
is
it.
great. The,
Apple
the kid
TV
is super
Plus.
great in the movie too. Like he did a great job.
Yeah. All right, next we have Thunderbolts. This actually has a 7.6 Pete on
I don't,
IMDb.
I don't get it.
Um, that's incredible. 68 Metascore. I mean, that's wow.
I don't
Uh,
understand this at all.
this budget of 180 million, it's grossed 371 worldwide. So this is definitely a positive on the Marvel side. Um,
I can go first because it's going to be brief.
yeah, go
I,
for it.
I don't understand the 7.6 score, and I think my frustration with some of these Marvel movies is that you have to have so much time to watch a bunch of series or other films in order to understand what's going on in the movie itself. Because I got to tell you, I was lost for so much of this movie. I mean, obviously the basic story beats, you get it, but everything that they talk about, everything that's going on, the characters that are in this movie, I'm just supposed to know who they are without any sort of setup or anything in terms of like natural storytelling for a story, not a film
Yeah,
franchise, but like a story. So I'm sure it got a 7.6 because of the Marvel world, and they knew exactly what they were getting when they started this movie.
yeah.
But somebody on the outskirts, I had zero idea what was going on in this movie, and I just don't I can't keep up with the amount of content they're putting out, especially because for the past X amount of years, the
Yeah,
content they've been putting out has been subpar, let's be
yeah,
honest.
yeah.
So that's all I got to say about it. I did not enjoy this movie, but that doesn't mean it's not good. It's
I
just I didn't know anything about it.
I think you're definitely not wrong on a lot of what you're saying. I think there's a middle ground of um well, I mean, if you're not fully up to date, then yeah, there's no reason to see this movie because you're not going to understand it. I think for the people that have been following along, it was entertaining. It was probably better than some of the other films that come out, but I still have the bigger issue of the like again, and I hate to always go back to the original Avengers film, but it was very like we knew what was coming, or not necessarily knew what was coming, but we knew there was a clear kind of path, and we still don't really have that. Like I thought by the end of Captain America, we should already have the Avengers together, and even with these guys, it's kind of the same. It's like, all right, but these guys aren't as dynamic as the Avengers, and
It's three movies where they're like Avengers are coming. Well, just
yeah,
just
it's
why don't you
like
just give us the Avengers and forget these three movies?
like to me either involve Spider-Man in this one. I don't know, something. They're not up in the stakes enough, unfortunately. And so it's like I feel like they're dragging it out versus up in the ante. And so I didn't hate this movie. I thought this movie was okay, but it's still the same thing as like Captain America, which is like
Fine.
I
Like
don't know if I needed this movie. I need a Captain America Civil War type film where it is clearly leading up to the next Avengers film, and I still think they're missing the boat on that. So uh, I don't know if I'm necessarily going to recommend this one. See it if you want.
And if you've watched every series ever produced and every film ever produced, you're probably gonna have a great time.
Yeah,
But if you don't know anything about the past 2 or 3 years of content from Marvel, I mean, don't waste your time unless you catch up and then go see it.
yeah. Okay, next we have Nonnas. This is on Netflix now. This has a 6.9 rating on IMDb, but this stars, of course, Vince Vaughn, Lorraine Bracco, Talia Shire, Susan Sarandon, and Joe Magliano. Yeah, I think that's it. But this for me, this was a not a comeback because he's never really left. But this is really a film in Vince Vaughn's wheelhouse. in terms of combining humor and emotion and all that. Obviously, like when you get older as an actor, you can't just rely on pure comedic chops. You know, you evolve just like we all do. And Vince Vaughn isn't just a pure funny guy now. He has the flair for the dramatic and the ability to add layers to characters. And this movie I thought was just a fantastic emotional family drama that kind of had it all. And I personally absolutely love this film. I heard about it. One of my friend's friend worked on this film. He was one of the producers. And so I heard a little bit about it. I'm like, oh crap, okay, that sounds amazing. And this is based off a true story about an actual restaurant owner that wanted to bring in a bunch of grandmas to, cook some food. And so I thought the premise was fantastic. Obviously, it's based on a true story, and I thought they executed very, very well.
I agree. Very heartfelt, a fantastic movie. We've seen Vince Vaughn before, but not often in a very dramatic role, like when the brawl in cell block, whatever number, he
Yeah,
was amazing. I think that was his first sort of real dramatic role. This is there are moments of comedy, but it's not over the top comedy. It's just really good, natural, funny, situational comedy. I thought that, I felt every journey, everything that he was feeling during this whole thing. It was really, um, you could get attached to his character. You can feel his struggles throughout. Um, Really well done, well performed. The four Nonnas were just absolutely incredible. Um, y- uh, I I did a double take with Talia Shire because I thought, forgive me, but I thought she passed recently. And so when I saw her in this movie, I was like, oh my God, she's still alive. This is amazing. She obviously is Adrian in the Rocky series, but maybe I just mixed up like her dying in the in the Rocky movies with real life.
yes, I think
I,
that's what it is.
I was just so happy to see her. Like, thank God, Lorraine Bracco is amazing.
Yeah,
The
she
other,
she she passed in Creed.
yeah,
No, no, I'm sorry. She passed in the last Rocky.
and Susan Sarandon comes in and she has kind of a minor part, but it's still significant. But she doesn't try to overpower anybody. She
Yeah,
played that role to perfection, and she ended up being something very vital to the Nonnas as you
yeah,
watch this movie. This is a great movie. It's on Netflix. You can watch it right now for nothing,
yeah.
and it's probably one of the nicer movies I've seen all year long. It's fantastic.
Next, we have Another Simple Favor. This is directed by Paul Feig. It says a 5.3 on IMDb rating, but this is you can watch this now on Prime,
Yeah.
starring Blake Lively, Anna Kendrick, and Allison Janney. I did not see this. So, Pete, what do you got?
I really enjoyed the first one. Blake Lively is like, I've got a super crush on her. She's just absolutely gorgeous. Um, I thought that what they did for this second movie was really quite clever. It's all set in Capri, Italy, and they've introduced a bunch of new sort of characters, but the way that they created this movie, it's so there's a lot of tension like throughout. And as you're going through it, you have so many questions and you're just waiting for that payoff at the end. But actually quite a nice journey, to be honest. Um, I could see how it wouldn't be for everybody. I would give it more of a 6 versus a 5.3 on
Yeah.
this film because there's only so much you could do with this property. And I thought that their attempt at a sequel was better than attempts at sequels that I've seen in recent years. They did a fine job. It's an enjoyable movie to go and see, and
Well,
that's my review.
it's on Prime too. So again, this is
Yeah, you can go and see this right now.
yeah.
For nothing.
Yeah, actually, I do want to see this. I didn't realize Paul Feig was the director. He's fantastic. He got his chops in The Office, and then, of course, did Bridesmaids, among other many great comedies. So I am going to check this out, Pete. So thank you. Next, we have Hurry Up Tomorrow. This is currently at a 5.3 IMDb rating, 29 Metascore. So obviously this was not a critical favorite. But this stars The Weeknd, Jenna Ortega, Barry Keoghan. Um, this is an interesting film. I definitely don't think this film is for everyone. It's definitely got it's a little bit of like a psychological thriller. It reminds me of kind of like Misery meets, kind of a behind the scenes of a musical artist. And it's, your reality is kind of warped a little bit because you just don't know. You don't, it's told a little bit out of order. And so you're kind of trying to figure it out as it goes. But it's, like I said, it reminds me a lot of like Misery, but with a musical artist that's going through a lot and but then still has to perform and all that good stuff. And so The Weeknd actually co-wrote it along with the director Trey Edward Schultz and Reza Fahim. But yeah, I want to say that it's based off of because The Weeknd actually had an experience where he had to cancel a show because of his kind of like vocals going out and all that good stuff. So I guess A Star Is Born is also kind of a similar comp, like Misery meets A Star Is Born.
Hmm.
Kind of a darker A Star Is Born. But I thought it was pretty interesting. Like I said, I don't think this movie's for everybody, but a really interesting behind the scenes kind of again like what artists have to go through, and again like you're also dealing with stuff on a personal side, like going through a breakup and then has to go out and perform in front of 20,000 people. And Barry Keoghan of course is just always good.
He's
And
so good.
yeah,
He's one of my favorites.
I thought the weekend was very good in this. I thought he really showed some acting chops in this because, like I said, it's a lot of emotion, a lot of different things that he has to as an actor go through. He's not just you know mailing in or just not good enough. He has legit acting talent, and and Jenna Ortega, she's the hot actress right now, and she
Sure.
again crushes. Very good role for her. Fits her kind of motif, a darker type of personality. So I liked it. Again, not kind of your traditional narrative. So if you're into like again like a darker psychological thriller, I think you'll like it.
Oh,
Um,
good. I no, I'll put it on my list,
I feel like you would like it.
my ever-growing list.
Yeah. All right. Next we have Friendship, and this movie stars Paul Rudd. Tim Robinson is really the star of this. It's not a Paul Rudd driven film. He's actually, the supporting actor in this. Um, this is a comedy, 100% a comedy, but this is one of those like also like awkward comedies where I'm trying to think of a good example where it's like part of what makes this movie is just how uncomfortable you feel. And um, Tim Robinson really crushes it. We laughed out loud a lot during this film. Um, this has a 7.5 rating in IMDb. Um, I mean, this is not a box office movie, so I don't even know what the numbers are. Yeah, it doesn't even give you a budget, but it's made 12 million worldwide. Um, but yeah, dude, it's just a really interesting. It's almost got a little bit of Bridesmaids to
Hmm.
it, where it's like you're watching kind of the demise of somebody, but then again, it's also kind of done in a humorous manner, and you're just constantly like, "Ah, don't do that, don't do that." You're just, but it's so well done. Um, yeah, I highly recommend this. Again, pretty funny movie. A24 produced this film, and
Love them.
yeah,
And you gotta love Paul Rudd. So
yeah,
yay.
yeah. And again, like Paul Rudd is not real funny in this. Like that's not his role in this. Tim Robinson is the film in a lot of good ways, but it's great. It's great. It's a really, really good film. Next, I'm excited to talk about this one, Pete. Fight or Flight. Um, I'll let you talk about this first. Let me go a couple numbers real quick. 6.4 rating on IMDb. And box office wise, this did not do very well. Only 4 million. But yeah.
Fight or Flight, for me, like I didn't know really anything about this film until you told me you've got to see this film. I just watched it. It's fantastic. I mean, it's action packed, ton of great stunts. It's very over the top, but this is such a fun movie. So Josh Hartnett, who has recently just been putting out great content, um, he's the star. He's like an ex-Secret Service guy who gets kind of drawn in by his ex-girlfriend, who's like the head of the, I don't know, CIA or whatever. And he has to go and find this ghost, this unknown, unidentified person that's been causing sort of havoc around the world, but in the sense that she's doing, or shoot, the person, the ghost is doing things that are like for the people and for people who can't help themselves. And so all of the acts that are going on are, coming from a good place. They just happen to be very violent. So his job is to get on this plane and locate this ghost. Um, However, I guess the word gets out, and now the plane is full of assassins who are going after this same ghost. Um, the way the story's built up, and once they get on the plane, and the side characters are really humorous. Um, I enjoyed the heck out of this movie. It was so much fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. My comp for this was kind of like a Bullet Train meets John Wick, and it's actually made by the producers of John Wick. So a very, choreographed martial art action type of a film. Um, and again, in such small space, again, a la Bullet Train. I like this better than Bullet Train. I think it's funnier. I just like the characters more in this film. But it's an interesting premise, a few twists and turns along the way, and yeah, just a fun ride.
So much fun.
Not really much wasted action, under 2 hours, and so just an interesting film. Highly recommend it myself.
I do too.
All right. Lastly, Pete, we are going to be doing Bring Her Back. This is a horror film, right? 7.6 on IMDb, and this is doing
I hope it's doing well.
well, budget 15, gross worldwide 8. I mean, this is going against a lot of high-end movies to include Mission Impossible, Karate Kid. I mean, Lilo, and I mean, it's got a tough tough pathway, but
Right.
Final
So
Destination, which we haven't seen yet. So yeah,
yeah, this movie is from the two directors of Talk to Me, and these guys were YouTube guys, and they were able to put together money for and to produce Talk to Me, and that became a relative success. And now this is their next sort of film after that. I mean, I guess if you had to categorize it, you would put it into a horror sort of theme. There are horrific things that sort of happen in this film, but basically, the dad of the main character, who's played by Billy Barrett, who just carries this movie, he's fantastic in this film. He and his sister, um, who is in the film completely blind, but in real life is legally blind in one eye, and like I don't know her stats or whatever, but she's perfect for this role because that's the character. Um, they have to then go and live with a foster mom because their dad just died in the shower. The the stepmom, played by Sally Hawkins, this woman is so unnerving and creepy, but overly nice. I don't know if you've ever encountered people that are just like, "Oh my gosh, how are you?" It's just
yeah.
like I'm so happy that you're in my home, but there's something behind her that, and so you find out through the course of the film about what's going on. She has what you think is her son, played by Jonah Ren Phillips, and his character is terrifying. He's this kid who's bald, pale white, got these dark circles around his eyes, messed up teeth, and he just wants to bite things and eat things. And he's thrown into so many really horrific situations, especially on film. Like, and what this kid does is incredible. The story is really well done. It's well paced. It's shot beautifully. I mean, these guys know what they're doing in terms of directing. I recommend this film highly because it's just so bizarre, but it's really well done, and everyone in it just performs brilliantly. And I won't give away sort of what happens, but I could see sort of more from this pair, this brother duo, directing in the future, and I look forward to it. This is a fantastic movie. It
Awesome.
definitely deserves the 7.6 that it got.
Nice. Nice. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for us today. Next week, we're going to have two solid films. We got the, of course, Ballerina, which is the John Wick spinoff that I think made both of our anticipation lists.
And speaking of which, there is a documentary out right now called Wick is Pain, where the directors, who are also stunt people with Keanu Reeves and everyone it's a progression of how they got the first movie made and how they were able to get all the other movies made after that. It's awesome.
Yeah, we'll check that out. And then secondly, Phoenician, which stars, it's a Wes Anderson film starring Benicio del Toro. So those are on tap for next week. Please make sure you like, share, subscribe. And, also good news. I think we're going to be able to start producing our classic rewatches. So expect those to be coming out this summer. We plan to get a lot more podcasts in, so our schedules are finally lining up. So good news, fans. So again, like, share, subscribe. And with that, Pete, that is a cut. Thanks, guys.